This is where the fun happens, and this is usually the shortest part of the process. Hi, I'm Taylor-Alexis, and this is a safe place to talk dangerously about life lessons in your 30s, wellness, and filmmaking. So if you're new, welcome, and if not, thanks for coming on back. So today we are going to get into, finally, some filmmaking stuff. I know there's so many topics to talk about, and especially in the documentary world, I just want to see more of what I want to talk about. And I don't really see it out there. Maybe my algorithm is on a different rhythm. Who knows? But that's why I'm here. So today we are going to talk about... Okay, so now we're off to production. This is where the fun happens, and this is usually the shortest part of the process. It's really the shortest part of the process. So let's first talk about the equipment essentials. So in the pre-production stage, hopefully, with the planning and coming up with the meetings and things like that and what kind of gear you're going to use, you might have like a shot list or an idea of what you're going to film. So with using your shot list, you definitely want to kind of associate what gear you're going to use, right? So if I know that I'm going to be doing like an establishing shot of the location for the film, let's say if my grandmother's documentary, I know I'm in St. Kitts, I want to get a really nice shot of like the coast with, the tide coming in and like some mountains here. And I know that I'm going to bring my widest lens because that's going to make sure that I can get everything in the lens to kind of establish where we are. But if I'm doing like an interview, I'm like, I know that I'm probably going to need, a 2-camera setup, bare minimum, right? The 2-camera setup, one facing on and the other side profile. I know I want the profile to be a tight shot, so I'm probably going to go with, an 85 millimeter lens, or maybe, depending on the lighting in there, maybe the 104. And then maybe the head on would be either like anywhere from 35 to 50 millimeters. Deciding that in the pre-production stage really helps when you get into the spot and you're trying to film it, trying to set up. You already know what you're going to do. You already know what you're going to grab. As far as audio goes, and that decision is based upon what's going on. Sometimes it calls for a Rode mic that you're, clipped up here and mic'd there. Maybe you might need a boom mic, and that I would say, make sure that you hire a sound person, because as the person filming, you're not going to have the time to be doing both. You're already thinking about a lot. So boom mics are great for if you're moving around and doing things like that, but make sure that you get a sound person. And that is where you think about from production with the money. I say always hire the sound person. You'll never regret it. If they know what they're doing, you'll never regret it. And this isn't really like in the production stuff, but I think this is like just in general as a filmmaker. One of the best advice I ever received was to know your gear. Know it like the back of your hand, and then make it in a way sort of like formulaic to whatever type of thing that you're shooting. So if you're doing interviews, this is your settings. This is how you want to, you want to shoot it on 24 frames per second, and maybe the close-up one you want to shoot it at 60 so that you can catch, I don't know, like the tears dropping pretty slowly and slowing down in post. I'm getting ahead of myself, but making sure that your gear is so important. There's nothing worse than arriving to a set, whether it's yours or someone else's, and you're fumbling with your gear, right? It's one, it's unprofessional, and it's like two, you're like wasting people's time. It's like you call yourself a videographer. But I find my best advice for knowing your gear and working with your gear on day of things is to just make it as light as possible. Unless you're a man. If you're a man, go for it. As a woman, I'm like, please, I got to make this as light and easy as possible, because I just don't want this cumbersome bag and look like there's just too much. So just make it easy for yourself. Okay, so the next part about the fun part is the interview techniques. Now, I enjoy doing interviews with people, and I think journalism is a respected art form, and I feel for my journalists now because it is just a different world. Hold on, I need to adjust this lighting because the sun is going down. So in order to honor our journalists that are out there, I will tell you I'm not asking, I am telling you, do your research on people. Do that in the pre-production. Make sure that you know who you're sitting with, make sure you know some basic information and that you have your questions ready. So that way the interview can come off a little bit more personal, more conversational, instead of like, oh, great, so where were you on July 17th of 1969? Like things like that. Like you want to make sure that you're also listening to what's being said, that you can bounce back. It's an art form and that takes practice and that takes skill. So I give it up to journalists. Schedule time to shoot B-roll. And what I mean by that is, like, one of the best advice I ever got from the new school was to just always shoot B-roll. Like whenever you can, B-roll, 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 because you never know when you'll need to use it. And sometimes you can't go back to said location. So, there's B-roll before the shoot, there's B-roll during the shoot, and there's B-roll after the shoot. B-roll after the shoot I find that to be the most fun part too, because you're already like comfortable with the person's comfortable with being on camera. So maybe now, during the interview, you can listen for certain cues of like, oh, maybe this will be nice to get like a shot of them doing this or something similar. That way we can throw it in there and make the film itself more dynamic. Also room sound. Try your best. I think put that on your call sheet, at the top of the call sheet, like on your to-do list of like, hey, make sure to do 20 to 30 seconds of room sound. And what that does is helps in editing in the post-production stage, so that, let's say the person speaking has a moment of silence. Or if you heard my neighbor like dropping something on the floor, that room tone, sorry, it's called room tone. Wow. The room tone, you can put that over that part, or my neighbor dropping something on my ceiling. That way it just sounds better. It flows. So always get room tone. 20 to 30 seconds. You can ask the room to be quiet. I'd say do it before you start the interview, get that out the way. And then be open to capturing happy accidents. Sometimes weird things will happen on set and you just have to roll with it. And I say keep the cameras rolling, because you never know if you can use it or not. There's been so many moments where I was like, oh, okay. Like for instance, I was in Sync Kids, and hopefully I can find some of this on my hard drive. I haven't pulled out my hard drive since I moved, but when I was in Sync Kids, and I remember I did an interview with my grandmother, and she had said something about feeling held back even though she was in America, right? And we can get into that in the film itself, but so funny. I heard like a cow mooing, and I was like, So I pop my head outside and I look out the window, and then I see that this cow has like a collar and a chain around him. And then it's like the chain is dragging on the floor, and he's still like moving about life or whatever. And I was like, oh, this would be so nice to get, because, here she is in America working on her citizenship, or she has her green card, but she still doesn't feel free, much like this cow with the chain on, but they're roaming around. You know what I mean? Anyways, whatever. Roll with me. So then the next part of production, which also contributes to the fun part, is just working with a crew. It's like, I can't stress about being likable on set. That will get you places further than, your resume and things like that, because people want to be able to spend time with you on set. Or maybe let's say you have to do a few nights in another city or another state. Are you enjoyable enough to be like staying in someone's hotel room, sharing a room with someone, things like that. So that's not to say that, you shouldn't hone in on your actual technical skills, but that likable part too will get you further. And then I think, let's say you are the director and you hire a crew, making sure that everybody's on the same page is key. And it's going to really, really show you whether or not like you can be a leader or not. And it might take time. You might ease into it. But clear communication is key, and setting those expectations in that pre-production stage will help to have a smoother set on film days or shoot days. Okay, so now let's move on to post-production.